Ladies and gentlemen, we have an absolute shock, an absolute bombshell breaking hoops all in for you guys. This is an absurd nuclear trade. So the Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic. Yes, you heard it correctly. They are trading Luka Doncic, Max Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round draft pick. NBA insider Shams Charania broke the news late last night at 12:12 a.m. This is an absolute bombshell, shocking, nuclear trade that we have ever seen in the NBA before the trade deadline. So, Keith, man, I know you said on our first episode you were worried that the trade deadline was going to be boring. Well, this trade right here completely wipes away that comment. What are your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis? Just absolute stunner.
I mean, it's a complete shock. I mean, normally with these things, with these star caliber players, you're getting a little inclining. Shams is telling us, hey, the Mavericks are looking to, ship Luka out or looking for something in a trade revolving around Anthony Davis. But the fact that in this day and age, we didn't get a single notification, we didn't get nobody was prepared. Everyone thought he got hacked. Nobody thought this was real. Shams had to put out like 2-3 additional tweets saying this is 100% real. This is real. Here's the full deal. And as well, the Jazz got Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 second-round picks because they were facilitators. They gave up, I think, like $55,000 to help this go through. But, I mean, it's shocking. I mean, I was listening to something and I mean, it probably will go down as the biggest trade in NBA history. Obviously we weren't around for when Kareem got traded from the Bucks to the Lakers, but that is what that's the comparison I'm seeing right now with, just star players in their prime and just getting moved just in their prime or right as they're entering their prime. So it's crazy. How about you? What do you think?
I don't know whether to be very, very disappointed in the Mavericks GM because you have a young 25-year-old in his prime, a generational talent like Luka Doncic, who comes probably once every 20 or so years. You were in the NBA Finals last year. Everybody said you were a piece away. You added Klay Thompson. You have a solid roster that can make a run again. To trade away Luka Doncic, the face of the franchise, for an older Anthony Davis. Yes, he's still in his prime, 31 years old. I don't know what in the hell Nico Harris, the Dallas Mavericks GM, is thinking. I don't know. Was he held at gunpoint? Was he sniffing some cocaine? Did he have some fentanyl in the system? They called the Lakers, not like the other way around. They called the Lakers and said that they wanted Anthony Davis and they were willing to give up Luka Doncic. So I don't know who in the hell authorized this trade from the Dallas Mavericks side. Now, there's been reports that the Mavericks were concerned about Luka's conditioning. They were concerned, about his about him possibly not signing that max extension because now, since he's traded, he's no longer eligible for that supermax contract. But they were concerned about some of the things, again, him being a liability on the defensive end, and they just said, you know what? We don't feel Luka's our guy anymore. Which, again, this is an absurd, asinine, ridiculously stupid thing to say, but this trade is going to affect the NBA, obviously not for today, but for many, many years to come. Looking at the Lakers side, if Nico Harrison calls, the Lakers GM Rob Pelinka and say, hey, you want Luka Doncic? They're like, yeah, sure. Who you want? Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is going to be there tomorrow morning. Don't worry about everybody else. And the fact that the Mavericks were only able to get one first-round draft pick. When you trade a guy like Luka Doncic, you should get multiple first-rounders. Hell, Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
So how the hell you get Luka Doncic for one? Obviously, you get Anthony Davis, who's again a great player, but I just don't see what the Mavericks were thinking. You traded against somebody who's still coming off injury, cash strain, for a guy who's been nicknamed street clothes. Because he's been more injured than he has been available. We'll see if this trade plays out, but I don't know how the Lakers are able to get superstar after superstar after superstar. It was Kobe, Shaq, to now LeBron, to now Luka Doncic. LeBron, obviously, again, all parties involved. LeBron was unaware of this. Anthony Davis was unaware of this. Luka was unaware of this. Even Kyrie Irving was unaware of this. And for them to find out about this trade on social media because of Sham's tweet just goes to show you that there is all that loyalty about, players should be loyal to the organization is complete bullshit, because it goes to show you teams, organization would trade players left and right and have no basic communication skills to them whatsoever. So that's why I'm always in favor of players doing whatever they need to do, the best interest of their own brand instead of the team's own brand. But I could go ramble on, man. I do not know what the Mavericks were thinking when they decide to pull the trigger on this trade.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact quote up ready to read, but the GM of the Mavericks, Nico Harrison, said
Mm-hmm.
that he values defense, and defense is what wins you championships. And it absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know that Luka on defense is a slouch. He's a bigger guard for sure, which gives him a little bit of points, I guess, but the effort has never been there. We've seen, mainly in the finals, he got not picked on, but people were fine with going at him, and he had the one good series right against Oklahoma City where he was above what he normally is. But I mean, it's just when you have a guy like Luka, you will figure out things to put around him. They, like you said, they made the NBA Finals last year, and granted, it wasn't a very competitive NBA Finals. But they got there, and the Mavericks had the sixth best defense last year. It's not like you guys were bottom 10 or even halfway. You were a top 7 defense, and you got to the finals, and you took a game. And even though it wasn't the most competitive, because Boston is one of the better teams that we've seen recently, but like Luka is one of those guys that you make an exception for because of what he gives you on offense. And sure, defense wins championships, but you got to score the ball. And now Anthony Davis can score. I saw that this is the first time that two 25-point per game players got traded for each other. It is also the first time that two players who made All NBA the last season got traded
Mm-hmm.
mid-season. So, I mean, it's a huge trade, and I think that what everybody's going through right now is shock and not necessarily being afraid of either side. Now, with the Lakers acquiring Luka, this is not a move to win this year. Luka's been hurt since Christmas, and I mean, LeBron is 40 now. He's still a top 20-ish player, but not what he's been. And it's and then the Mavericks get Anthony Davis, who is an elite rim protector, defender. He was just saying a few days ago how he doesn't want to play center. This allows him to play power forward, but I don't know. I just can't get behind seeing Luka and LeBron playing defense for the Lakers when they really don't have many stoppers, right? They just acquired Finney Smith not that long ago, but that defense is going to be rough in LA because they're both guys that they don't give their all on defense. LeBron's 40. He doesn't have too much of a will to play defense unless he really needs to. And Luka has just never really been that guy. So I don't know.
Yeah, and in terms of you saying that Luka obviously is a defensive liability, well, Kyrie Irving was always a defensive liability. He was never a defensive stopper, and he won a championship with the Cavs. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Steph Curry. He was always a defensive liability. He was never a defensive stopper, and he won 4 championships with the Golden State Warriors. So I understand that Mavs have concerns about Luka's inefficiencies on the defensive end. But you need somebody, as you mentioned, to go and score the ball. Yes, defense wins you championships, but points keeps you in the game. And if you have nobody to score the ball, put the ball in the hoop, then there's no point in playing defense and you're already getting blown out. So again, I'm just going back. I don't know what the Mavericks GM Nico Harris was thinking when he decided to pull the trigger on this trade. And going back to reports, Luka Doncic didn't request a trade. Again, he didn't even know that he was being traded. All sides involved in this were unaware of this deal being talked about. And again, it goes to show you lack of communication on organizations, lack of communication with team owners and GM. So all that fans complain, oh, why don't the players show loyalty to the team anymore? Fuck that bullshit, because clearly teams never show loyalty to the fans. But you're looking on Dallas' side. If they felt that, they had issues about Luka's conditioning, there's been reports that he reached up to 270 pounds. When he came in the league, he was a flat 200, so he gained 70 pounds throughout his career in the NBA. That they were concerned, it's like, you know what, this guy might be the next Zion Williamson in terms of his off-the-court inabilities to stay healthy. That was really concerned, but it's like the Cavaliers trading LeBron James in his prime. It's like the Bengals trading Joe Burrow. It's like the Ravens trading Lamar Jackson. It's like the Warriors trading Steph Curry. You just don't trade away a generational player. I'm just beyond shocked. Everybody in the NBA who's covering the NBA sports broadcasters are shocked. But looking at, for the Lakers standpoint, as you mentioned, this is not a win now trade. They say, LeBron James is 40. He's probably not going to get another run at the title. He doesn't need another run at the title. He already has 4 championships, for crying out loud, 4 NBA Finals MVPs, 4 league MVPs. He's a first ballot Hall of Fame ready player. Now, this just, you know what? Let's let LeBron go off into the sunset. You got a young 25-year-old. And if Luka did have issues with his conditioning, who better to teach him how to stay in peak top physical shape, how to take care of your body at the highest level than LeBron James. LeBron has been doing this at a top level for 22 years now. At age 40, he's more in shape than players at 22 in the NBA right now. And so LeBron is going to tutor him under his wing. He's going to teach him what to put in his body, how to eat right, how to work out, how to stay in shape. And when he plays Dallas, I think they play in Dallas sometime in March or April.
February.
He's going to look to drop 50. Oh, yeah. But I don't know if that's in LA or is that in Dallas?
I'm pretty sure it's nationally televised. So.
Yeah, so that. But when the Lakers go and visit the Dallas Mavericks, Luka is gonna look to drop 50. Say, you guys did this to me after I was the face of the franchise. I led you to the finals last year. All right, I got something for your asses. But
I think the same about Anthony Davis.
Anthony was
felt betrayed. Yeah.
I
mean, I'm all for organizations. Especially the stars. Now, it's messed up to not tell anyone, but if you don't tell Max Christie that he's getting moved, then sure. But AD, who helped you win the bubble ring, right, in 2020, Luka, who just got you to it's not like Luka has been missing the playoffs every year. I think he's missed maybe twice in his career, his first year, and I think he missed a year in the middle maybe where he had the playoffs. But, and all those picks that, Lakers are notorious, and the Suns before their first round pick trade last week, they don't have any picks except for the 2029 one, which they just gave up, and I believe a 2032 maybe, or 2031. But this Luka trade, just like those picks pretty much aren't valuable anymore, because Luka at least get you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's LeBron, it's hard to say, Curry and Durant now, because they're about to, they might miss the playoffs this year, but over history, those guys are solidified to get you in the playoffs, and that's what Luka is. So, and the fact, right, like you said earlier, they got 1 first round pick, and I know the Mavericks said they were looking for a all defensive, all NBA center. There's not many of those in the league, but you're telling me that you would rather take a maybe 32-year-old Anthony Davis and a first round pick and Max Christie instead of maybe calling up the Spurs, the Rockets, who have like the Spurs could have given you 8 first round picks, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, and they would have been fine. Now they made Stephon Castle untouchable for De'Aaron, but Luka's a whole different story than De'Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Same with, Houston would have probably given up, a Jabari Smith, a Reed Shep, like some of their valuable guys and a bunch of picks for Luka. And I know they were looking for an all defensive center, and there's not a lot of those, but I mean, it's crazy. And I think the GM of the Lakers, Rob Pelinka, he was on a hot seat, After you win a ring, you have like a grace period where you can make moves and you're not really questioned or you're not really held accountable because, hey, you just won a championship for us. This is going to be the 5th year since the Lakers have won that ring. And now that's a lot more recent than a lot of other teams. But when you have LeBron and Davis, I don't think originally the goal was just to get to 1 finals. It's not like they've gotten to 2, they've won 1, lost 1. They've only got to 1 finals, and they won, but Rob Pelinka was on a hot seat with this one, and he might have just saved his job for the next however many years pulling off this Luka trade because it keeps the Lakers relevant for even when LeBron does retire, because once him and AD were gone, the Lakers might have been like awful again, and they didn't have picks. So they were going to be awful for nothing. They were going to give a top 10 pick to whoever has those, whoever has the rights to those. So it's a huge trade for both sides, but I mean, the Lakers definitely benefit the most, I would say, even though it's not a win right now with LeBron trade.
Well, Nico Harris just saved Rob Pelinka's ass and got him out of a deep shithole because, again, they called the Lakers and, you mentioned they had no first-round draft picks until 2029, 2030. And the Lakers roster was so handicapped. You couldn't move players to get a perennial all-star. Like they said, Austin Reeves was untouchable. Obviously not trained LeBron James. And as we all thought, Anthony Davis was untouchable. So who on that roster could you move to get a valuable piece that puts you right back in championship contention? You already moved D'Angelo Russell for Dorian Finney-Smith. You're not. Who are you going to get for Max Christie if you trade him solo? Who are you going to get, for Rui Hachimura for stuff like that? The Lakers weren't going to get any player that moved the mountain. So for them say, hey, you know what? We're going to have to get rid of Anthony Davis to get Luka. Anybody with 2 functioning brain cells would have made that trade because it's Luka freaking Doncic we're talking about. But, this, like I said, this is the Lakers telling LeBron James, hey, listen, this year we just don't have enough players, star power resources to make a run. This is a long-term build for the future. And I think LeBron James is probably okay with it because, again, he's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's done everything that there is to do in the sport of the NBA. He doesn't need to add anything to his resume. Right now, he's just having fun playing. He's happy that his son is alive after having that very scare, heart condition last year. He's playing with the son. He's on cloud 9. He's a billionaire, so he's good. But going with the Dallas Mavericks side, like Anthony Davis, again, he criticized Lakers, said, hey, we need a big. I don't want to play the 5. We need a center. So you know what the Lakers did? They shipped them to All American Airlines Center down south and say, hey, there's your center. You go down there. But, again, right now, obviously Kyrie is going to right now, that's Anthony Davis' team, obviously, because I think Anthony Davis is a little bit better player than Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving has somebody that he could just throw the lob up to. It kind of reminds me of a Kobe and Shaq 2.0. Now, yes, they're a little bit older, not old like 40, but they're 31, 32 years of age. So their championship window is right now. If they don't win it, the Dallas Mavericks, they don't win the title within the next 2 to 4 years, this trade is going to be an absolute failure. And going back to Anthony Davis, his health has always been a question in his career. There's a reason why he's been nicknamed street clothes, because you see him more on the sideline than actually playing. Now, recently, he has been healthy, besides the dominant injury, but he has been healthy. I believe last year he played over 70 games, so he has been healthy. So whatever advice LeBron told him how to take care of his body, it's been working. But Nico Harris said, hey, defense with championships. They were concerned about Luka's health, his conditioning, and his defensive ability on his liability on the defensive end. And they say, you know what? There's not a lot of centers out there that can play 1 through 5 and can guard guys like a Nikola Jokic, a Joel Embiid, hell, even a Kristaps Porzingis if the Boston Celtics make it back to the NBA Finals. So, we'll see how this trade materializes. Obviously, Dallas, they got a lot of, gelling together because you traded away a big piece for a big piece. Kyrie and AD are going to have to get to know each other well. There's only about, 40-some games left in the season. I don't think they'll make a run this year, maybe next year, because you do need a training camp. You do need all season for everybody to gel. Same thing with the Lakers, having a big presence in the locker room like Luka. Now LeBron obviously is going to have to play less off the ball. Luka's going to play more on the ball, but we're going to see how that's going to materialize. And LeBron has always been a fan of Luka Doncic. He said, hey, if Nike gave him his own, section like they did, like Under Armour did with Steph Curry and Nike did with Michael Jordan, he said his first athlete he was signed was Luka Doncic, so he get to play with somebody that he's admired. Luka's obviously always been a fan of LeBron, so I think that was just a match made in heaven. I think LeBron is going to unlock levels of Luka Doncic that we've never seen before. He's going to come out, especially again when they play Dallas and host Dallas, he's going to look to drop 50, but Luka's condition is going to get better. His basketball IQ is going to get even more better. I just don't know. But yeah, Nico Harris definitely saved Rob Pelinka's ass with that trade, because they didn't have any. What other moves were they going to do to say, hey, the Lakers are now a championship contending team? They had no other moves. So you're not getting rid of LeBron James, which we know now that may be an option on the table. And we never thought that they were going to get Trey Anthony Davis, who helped you win the bubble championship a couple years ago. So we'll see. So we'll see what this happens. But again, this is just, I thought the Paul George to the Clippers was the worst trade, because OKC got a ransom of picks, and now look how well that they're doing. Shea's an MVP caliber player. OKC's a championship contending team, and they still have multitude of draft picks for years to come. But this right here, Dallas Mavericks fans are saying, if we don't win a title within the next 2 to 3 or 4 years, and you traded away our franchise player, they are coming for Nico Harris's head. I'm telling you, he is the most wanted man in Texas right now, because there is no way you do this trade and you don't win a championship. They don't win a championship. Nico Harris's job is officially over. He's going to be at the unemployment line, because this right here, oh Lord, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, Keith. I don't know.
And I don't know. I hope for both of these sides, even though, again, the Lakers probably are not looking to go for the big prize this year. Both these teams, they need to make at least another move. The Lakers front court is abysmal. Whether you're playing LeBron at small forward or power forward, you're not putting LeBron back. If LeBron did that center thing one time, you're not asking a 40-year-old LeBron to play center and get down low, banging with the big guys and everything. And what, Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood hasn't even been. Christian Wood doesn't even play anymore. He's been hurt, but who knows what he even looks like? And what are you going to do? Jared Vanderbilt, he just started coming back, and he hasn't played in over a year or something. And then Dallas, yeah, you've got a lot of bigs now. When Derek Lively comes back eventually, I think he'll be out for a little while still. But Daniel Gafford, and then Anthony Davis. I mean, sure, Davis gets to play the power forward, but whenever he says that, I always envision that him playing the power forward would be him being next to another center that could stretch the floor. Because Anthony Davis, once upon a time, was one of the best shooting bigs in the league. Now he can still hit it occasionally, but I mean, it's much more rare that he is pulling up with confidence, especially from the 3-point line. He'll do his mid-range stuff, but I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I don't like the trade for either of them right this second because there's still more to be done. And whatever that might be, again, even if the Lakers aren't going for the big thing this year, which they shouldn't be because who knows when Luka is even back. I believe he's back soon. But I mean, that again, that front court is nasty. Other than LeBron, you got to get some bigs in there. Now, who is that? How much money do you have to play with? It's up in the air. The Lakers, they still have a Rui contract. They still have a Jared Vanderbilt contract, so they can still move some money around to get hopefully a center that makes sense and isn't a backup or a third stringer. But I don't know. I mean, it's just Lakers have a lot to do over there. And looking at
Yeah.
the Mavs side, this also came out, and I had to look this up because I wasn't even sure what this meant. But Anthony Davis waived his trade kicker, which means that when I believe it's only a higher up player thing, but when you get traded, they have to pay you a bonus of whatever percent, and he is opting to not. He's waiving it so the Mavs
Mm-hmm.
have more money to make more moves, which
Mm-hmm.
it's a great thing for Davis to do when he hasn't stepped a foot inside this organization yet. But I mean, they gotta make some trades too, because when they're fully healthy, I assume the starting lineup will be Kyrie, Clay, PJ Davis, and Gafford or Lively.
Yeah.
And that that'll probably be a good defense, but you're putting a lot on Kyrie as the ball handler there because Klay Thompson's never been a real ball handler like that. He's I'll spot up and I'll hit 6 threes. He's not a dribble guy. And even off the bench, their guards, I mean, Jaden Hardy, Quentin Grimes,
Mm-hmm.
a lot to throw onto Kyrie now. And even him, he's around AD's age too. So I completely agree when you said the Mavericks window got so much shorter. They might have 2 to 3 years, and then they might be heading right back towards the rebuild after they just drafted one of the best players you could get in a draft. They traded with the Hawks to get rid of Trae Young because they liked Luka more.
Mm-hmm.
To trade him, what, his 7th year? He didn't even sign his first real contract being an unrestricted free agent yet, and now that he is traded, he's not even eligible for that supermax, which again, that helps the Lakers in another way because he's going to be injured this year. He's not making all NBA or MVP or any awards that he would get because he won't meet the minimum game criteria. And they aren't going to have to sign him for what was it? I think it was 345 mil.
Yeah, some crazy number, like well over 300 million.
It's a lot, and it's again, I think it's more of a shocking trade than it is oh no, I'm scared of the Lakers, or oh no, I'm scared of the Mavericks. They're both good, but it's not like Kevin Durant just joined the greatest record team of all time,
Yeah.
because Golden State didn't have to give anything up. They literally just signed him and they kept their core, so we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, and going back to Anthony Davis, for him to constantly say that he doesn't want to play the 5, he doesn't want to play center, that's very, very concerning because especially in today's NBA where the physicality is no longer there, when you have bigs that are stretching floor, knocking down threes, hell, bigs are even bringing the ball up the court, playing the role of a point guard, there's no need for you to play center. It's a positionless NBA. So Anthony Davis, I get it. He probably doesn't want to bang with Jokic, with Embiid, Adebayo, those other bigs, but nobody's banging down in the paint like that. used to in the 90s anymore. It's all fast paced, shoot the basketball, run back on defense. So for Anthony Davis at 31 years old, this is what his 11th, 12th year in the league, for him to constantly say, I don't want to play center. That is very, very alarming, because let's just say, knock on wood, let's just say a Gaffer gets hurt or Lively gets hurt again, and you're going to have to play AD at the 5. Is he going to pout moan on the bench like, oh, I don't want to play the 5? You're going to have to play the 5, bro. Like, it's a positionless NBA. If they want you down in the paint to bang with somebody who's most likely going to be smaller than you can do that. You're Anthony Davis. You have all the post moves in the world. You have all the defensive accolades, the skills in the world. You should be able to play any position. We've seen Anthony Davis help play point guard. We've seen Anthony Davis defend point guards. We've seen Anthony Davis defend wings. So for him to constantly say he does not want to play the 5, especially in year 12 or 13 at 31, 32 years of age, in his prime, is very, very concerning. I'd have a serious conversation with AD. Listen, we know that's been a concern for you, but we're going to need you to play whatever we ask you, because right now, this is our window. We got 2-3 years max to get a championship in Dallas. If we need you to play the 5, you got to play the 5, But yeah, go back to the Lakers. It definitely, I wouldn't say reopens their window, but they have a brighter future now. Not wondering what's the Lakers going to look like once LeBron retires, once Anthony Davis gets up there in age. You got a guy, 25 years old, Luka Doncic, who, again, will learn how to get his conditioning better, his cardio better, being under the tutelage of LeBron James. And now the Lakers are now going to be more attractable destination. Like, yo, we can go play with Luka. Who's you don't know what's going to happen in that free agency 2026, 2027, 2028. They could get some big key marquee free agents now, especially playing in LA. I understand, the state taxes are deadly, but it's nice weather all year round. You're playing in Staples Center now, crypto.com arena, knowing the lore, the history, the success that organization has. They are now going to be a prime destination for marquee free agents for years to come. But yeah, just definitely shocking. Looking at right now at the Dallas Mavericks roster, like you said, the Mavs, they're gonna have to get another ball handler, because even though Kyrie Irving can do it at age 31, 32, that's too much of a tax to ask for him. We'll see if they're probably gonna have to trade a couple players on the bench. Maybe they make PJ Washington available. We'll see, but yeah, I don't know. This is just, again, we sound like we're repeating ourselves, but this is just one of the most bizarre, shocking, utterly crazy, possibly worst trades in NBA history, because neither of these sides needed these players. So I just don't know, man. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. But let me say out there, there's been some NBA conspiracy theories out there. Since we have worldwide conspiracy theories, some NBA conspiracy theories, and let me just put this out there for you guys. So I was on Twitter X, and somebody posted and said, hey, maybe they paid the Dallas Mavericks to do the trade, because as we all know, the NBA ratings are declining. It's in the shitter. It doesn't help the fact that, it costs an arm and a leg on League Pass to watch basic games, and now that you're not going to have it inside the NBA anymore next year, it's all going to be on ESPN and NBC and Amazon Prime. They probably thinking Adam Silver called up the Dallas Mavericks GM and said, hey, listen, we'll give you X amount of money if you trade Luka to a storied franchise like the Lakers, because Luka and LeBron on the same team. That is must-see TV. That is a big ratings booster. And you get back Anthony Davis, and we'll give you probably like $25 million, $100 million just to make the trade. That's what somebody on Twitter said. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm just putting it out there for the fans. That's what somebody on Twitter said. That Adam Silver called the Mavericks for them to trade Luka to the Lakers, to a storied franchise. They'll get back a great player, AD. So now the Lakers are going to be more relevant again, because I think the Lakers are the most nationally televised team right now this season. And when they're in, you already know what to expect from the Lakers. But now this really going to make them must see. So we'll see. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Twitter conversations are some of the most deadliest conversations to bring into the real NBA world, because again, it's literally just people talking, saying what's on their mind, and not thinking about it, or the consequences or the benefits of whatever. They're just throwing something at a wall. So I think it's and I don't think I agree that this is a ratings thing, I do think that the Lakers being relevant is always going to help, and the fact that LeBron is on the Lakers is going to help the ratings, sure. And throwing a guy like Luka, who is going to be a top 3 to 5 player for the next 10 years, is, I'm sure it will help, but you know, I don't think that's something that the teams are thinking about or anyone's thinking about. So
Yeah.
I don't really think that's in question. I think it's just the Mavericks are, they didn't think they could win anymore with Luka, which again, they made it to the finals. Now, if they flaked out in the first round or if they did something like that, then maybe, but you were just in the finals with this guy, and he's a walking 30-point triple-double when he's
Yes.
healthy. I understand, again, going back to the, I think he started the year around 230, 240. And again, if he pushed it around to 270 after he got injured last year, then sure, that's alarming. But again, like you were saying with Curry, there's players you make exceptions for. And again, Curry and Luka are two completely different players, but guards that don't defend, you can put guys around them. Draymond Green around Curry, Iguodala, Harrison Barnes,
Klay Thompson. Yeah.
Thompson, when he in his heyday was a amazing defender, and Kevin Durant has never really been a slouch too. So there's players you make exceptions for because of what they do on the other side of that ball. Just like there were players that gave you their all on defense, and they were super valuable throughout history. Dennis Rodman, guys like Tony Allen. People just play because they have a special, now do you play 3 of those guys at the same time that give you all defense, no offense, or vice versa? No, not at all. But I mean, you make exceptions, you build around the team, and I mean, you can make it work with Luka. You just did it last year. Not even a full, year ago. You were in the finals. You beat everybody in the West. You beat the best defense in the league last year, the Timberwolves. You beat Oklahoma City, who sure didn't have experience, but Shea, who might be the MVP this year, you beat them, and then I don't even know who they beat. They beat Phoenix, I think, in the first round. They went through some competition, and they took down some top defenses, and I can see the defensive want, but not at the expense of maybe a top 25 player of all time when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and going back to, again, if the reports are true that they had concerns about Luka's conditioning and his weight problems, a la Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans, that he was pushing 270. Bro, he has a strained calf. He injured his calf. You can't do any running or conditioning if your lower extremities aren't working and they're hurt. So again, yes, you have to watch what you eat, but if you can't run, you can't exercise, you can't work out, you're obviously going to put on pounds, especially being a professional athlete. It's easy to put on pounds just like that. But, I just want to pull up this quote. What Mark Cuban, who's, again, people got to realize this too. Mark Cuban is no longer the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He sold majority of his ownership to somebody else, and he made for a couple billions of dollars. But he's still, president of basketball operations. This is what Mark Cuban said back in, I believe, 5 years ago in 2020. Yeah. If I had to choose between my wife and keeping Luka on the Mavs, catch me at the lawyer's office prepping for a divorce. Well, it looks like he's keeping his wife now because Luka ain't no longer the team. Yeah. So, that quote now, just to show you, ain't nobody, no organizations are loyal to these players. They just say a whole bunch of bullshit because it sounds good, but 5 years later, this is aging like spoiled milk. So I just wanted to read you guys that. So, but yeah, again, I just, we have to see how this is going to work out. For the Mavericks to say, yeah, you know what, we no longer view Luka Doncic as our franchise, as our building block moving forward. We're going to pretty much give the ball to Kyrie Irving as the face of the franchise and get a defensive all-NBA player like Anthony Davis. They must have seen something very, very alarming that we may have not seen behind closed doors to make a drastic decision that will alter not only that organization, but the NBA for years to come. That's my last sentiment about that.
Do you think that now with this trade going down, do you think there's really a player that is completely untouchable? Is that a thing anymore? Because I mean, if you tell me untouchable players, I'm immediately thinking Luka, Shea, Giannis, Jokic, Wemby, Tatum-ish, maybe in that area. I mean, is there really a conversation for that anymore? Or do you think that if the package is right or the scenario is right, someone, they can get moved? And the fact that this was in the middle of the season and not the off season, I think
Hmm.
makes it even more of a surprise because this happened we have less than a week until the trade deadline. We've got I think four days until the trade deadline, and I believe they said that this had been talked about over the past week or so. This Dallas and LA thing, but I mean, if Luka's getting traded, I mean, I don't know how many people are really unmovable. You know,
Well, I think anybody can be traded if it's the right asking price. Because look at the superstars we've seen move. Obviously that may have been more free agency, but Kevin Durant got traded from
Mhm.
Brooklyn to Phoenix, and Kevin Durant is all world basketball player.
Yeah.
LeBron James has been traded before in the offseason where it was via signing trade. So before Shea became Shea, he got traded. So we have seen franchise generational talent players be traded. Kyrie Irving got traded before, from the Nets to Dallas. So
Yeah.
I think if it's the right asking price and you're getting a superstar for a superstar, and if it makes sense, then I think teams will do that. Now, again, I think only a few teams are probably going to be like, we're not moving this guy no matter what. Victor Wembanyama is very much untouchable because he's a 7'4" that can literally do everything on a basketball court. Shea, MVP conversation,
Mhm.
all elite player. I think he's legitimately untouchable. And OKC is building something great over there, a championship contending young team. I also believe I think LeBron's untouchable because of LeBron James. If he tells the
Hey,
team, "Hey, if I want to be moved, you can be moved," because what even in 40 at age 40, LeBron James is doing things that 25-year-olds wish that they would be doing. You know, so who else do I think is untouchable? I think Jason Tatum's untouchable because obviously he just won a championship with the Celtics. But I think those are really the three. Steph Curry, I think, is untouchable too. I don't think the Warriors will ever trade
yeah,
Steph Curry. Those are the four players I think that are truly untouchable. But if you present a trade package for superstar, and it makes sense for that team whether they want to rebuild or hey, this is our only time to contend for a championship, then they'll probably do the trigger.
yeah, and I think there is a difference between untouchable and we simply will not trade them. Untouchable I think is like those guys, like the younger, like Luka, Shea, Jokic, guys that simply maybe one or two teams or nobody can match the asking price. Like that, because there's not enough you can trade to do it. And then I think there are guys that are they just teams won't trade, which is where I think a Curry, a LeBron, um,
Jokic, maybe.
no, I think Jokic is in the untouchable thing just
Okay.
because he's about to win maybe his fourth MVP in 5 years. But I think the untouchable is those guys that are in their prime that no matter what you do, no matter what you offer, which again, I would have comfortably put Luca in there, that no matter what you are asking for, you can't match the value of. And then again, the won't trade, I think is those older guys that demand the respect of the organizations they are with. Curry, you know, LeBron. I think Giannis falls into a little bit of both because over years we have heard Giannis maybe, before he signed an extension, is he gonna get moved? Before Dame came, was he gonna, go somewhere else? Was he gonna, all this? But I think it also depends on the scenario, right? LeBron, for sure, at that time was untouchable, but de- based on the scenario where he couldn't get anything in Cleveland, Cleveland sucked that first stint. He made a finals, he won an MVP or two, and then he went. to Miami because he wanted to win. So I think there are scenarios like if Giannis was sick of the Bucks after this year, they flake out in the first round for maybe the third year in a row, then I for sure think even though Giannis should be untouchable, that there's a scenario where he can be traded. And I think, I want to say maybe that's what happened with the Luka, but I can't say that's what happened because the Luka, they just had so much success. Even last trade deadline, they traded for Gafford and PJ, and they helped them get to the finals in less than half of a season. So I really don't know what this trade it was because of, other than what the GM said. Maybe it literally is just we wanted an all defensive center and we want to value defense more than offense. But I agree with what you said and what plenty of other people I've heard, that there might have been something behind the curtain that we just don't know about with Luka and the Mavericks, that just maybe it will never come public, or maybe it's just people speculating too much.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see, man. We have to see how this trade materializes. Right before the All-Star break, and trade deadline is a couple days away. So hopefully we're gonna have a lot more bombshell news. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, tensions in Miami have been rising. De'Aaron Fox's name has been flown out there. So we might be on the cups of a very explosive nuclear trade deadline. So buckle up. Get ready. It's 4 days away, 4 or 5 days away.
Right after we said on our first episode that this might be another nothing or close to nothing trade deadline, and then not even, about
48 hours later.
48 hours later, maybe the player who people have been deeming the best player in basketball gets moved. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. But yeah, like everybody, like the NBA world, players, broadcasters, we are just utterly shocked, surprised beyond belief. But this is just a nuclear trade. Again, it's going to affect both franchises in the NBA for years to come. We'll see. But NBA trade deadline is this Thursday, February 6th. Hoops All In will be back here on Friday to discuss the possible trades, winners and losers of we'll now see a very explosive NBA trade deadline. So we'll be here to keep you guys up to date. World's Francois, keep basing. See you guys next time. Again, a special edition of the all-breaking news of the Hoops All In. Luka Doncic being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis being traded to the Dallas Mavericks. We'll catch you guys next time on the Hoops All In podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Hoops All In. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbeam, iHeartMusic, or wherever you stream your daily or weekly podcasts. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Yeah.